Yeah, I miss the West Island. I had some great fucking years living in Dollard. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It was a weird time. It was my first apartment was in fucking Dollard. Like I learned to drive in Dollard. I worked at the Super Club Videotrons up on Day Source. So like all of that shit. So I remember. Well, I don't know about the Guzo. Apparently the Guzo gained floors one day. I remember when it was just the one floor Guzo at the mall, and then it just gained floors one day. I don't know, man. That's bringing me back a little bit. But let's say the West Island comes back to life. Where would you fucking go perform in the West? What is the live scene or the nightlife scene of the West like these days? It's been a long time since I've really been out there at that time.
Like in terms of nightlife, I never went out very often. I don't club really. I don't really go to bars. It's not really my scene. I'm more of a homebody, house party kind of person. But
Mm.
I mean, McKibben's has been popping and it's probably now that terraces are open, going to be pumping again. Annie's, these are just like famous
Yeah, Annie's is still
bars.
around.
Yeah, it's still around.
I respect. It's far though.
Um, yeah,
Is
a
it
bit, but yeah,
okay? So is the house party thing a big thing in the West?
I would say, yeah, it's a pretty big thing in the West. I mean, obviously not right now, but before all this, yeah, it was a pretty big thing. Lot going on. Pretty much every weekend you could find something.
Do you think it's viable to do a grind where you just bust sets at house parties?
I think that I think it's a little bit weird in the West in terms of I find house parties are very centralized to specific groups in terms of, like you have your friends at the house party. We don't have a lot of house parties that it's like open invites and people are, piling in that you don't know, you do know. I find they don't happen as much here, or at least not a lot that I've been to. So if it was more of like a mixed up community, I feel like it could be more of a feasible thing. But I think that, playing at a house party with just your friends is the same as kind of like playing, your music on the aux. It's like everybody's heard your song before and you can rap to them in person not being at a party. It's like the same people you've always seen. I think that a lot of playing music in person and like in like a show form is cool to have, people that you don't know or you've never met that are, enjoying the music still, because I find that there's a lot of fake um fake love for people. If like I find a lot of people will listen to music just because you ask them to and then they'll never play it again. And I think that seeing people that enjoy your music that don't even know you and they just enjoy your music is like a different feeling than playing it for people that will always tell you that it's good.
Yeah, that's big. I respect that a lot. There is something to having strangers come up to you after and be like, "Your shit's dope." It's kind of a big thing. So where would you perform in the West these days?
Honestly, I'm open to anything, and I think it'd be cool to maybe organize something like a park kind of set where we kind of just make an event and make something out of nothing really, because like bar scenes, it's cool, but I don't think that it's the bar styles we have here, McKibben's and Annie's are more of like a live band kind of style than it is like a rapper performance kind of place. I think that it's more of like a background music, a lot of people socializing versus somewhere where you're going to listen to music. So I think that in terms of doing it in the West, at least for me, I would see a park or a public place as something of a better opportunity, maybe like the mall or something like that, where you can catch congregations of people, unknowingly and knowingly, and kind of draw a crowd and show off to local community. And if you're there, in the middle of the day and you show up to this, you're listening for the music. If you're at the club and somebody's playing, sometimes you're just trying to talk to your friends. You're just trying to have a drink. The music isn't your style, so you don't really care. But if you're walking through in the park and that's the only thing playing, you tend to give it a little bit more attention, stuff like that. So I think that'd be probably the best way I see of doing it.
I had the same conclusion for NDG because there's really nowhere to go fucking bar wise. There's no venue, in my opinion. There may be a venue that I'm unaware of, but not really. It's like one little bar thing. It's not like the littiest to me. And then I'm sitting there at Girard Park, and they apparently turned Wednesday night into this whole like hip hop oriented event thing. I haven't been to it, but it's been made clear to me it's super fucking litty. But I can tell you, Girard Park's fucking hot in NDG, and I know there's like 5, 6. You guys have forests. You guys could, like in the west, I mean, like right up on fucking in Dollard, up by like where the IGA used to be. There's like a whole forest up on Gwen, and there's another one up in fucking the island there, Il Bizarre or not, whatever. And it's like you look at these you could do like forest shows. Like that's fucking cool. I'd go to a forest show. I don't know how legal it is, but it's doable. I'm not worried about the legalities. There's always workarounds, but also you can get permits. I think it's possible, but still, that's really cool to see that you see it like that. Because I was personally going, I don't think people under the age of like 27 are gonna go to these bars and be like, "This is the littiest." I just didn't see y'all at the bars beforehand, so I just assumed y'all did other things. What do you guys go clubbing? Like, what do you think where people are at? Like, if you wanted to reach people from a nightlife perspective.
I think that clubbing is a huge nightlife activity in Montreal, not just the West, but in Montreal in general. With the good clubbing we have here, it was never my kind of cup of tea. I'm not. It was just not my scene. I've been and I've enjoyed myself pretty much every time I've gone, but it was just never my type of thing. But it's a huge prominent thing, and almost any weekend on all over Instagram, Snapchat, you can pretty much catch a view of every club from stories and things like that, because everyone's there pretty much any chance they get if you're into that kind of life. And the West is a lot of people that a big community of people with a little bit more money that are willing to go and drop hundreds at the club every weekend and get plastered, versus the people that sit at home with $40 bottles of the same alcohol at house parties and stuff like that. So I think that it wasn't my scene, and I can't speak a ton to it, but it is a huge scene in Montreal, and it's very noticeable. And I would say like clubbing is the young people's kind of nightlife thing that I would say is the most popular.
Alright, let me ask you a different question. Do y'all prefer like weed or alcohol in general?
Uh, Personally, I prefer weed. I'm not a big drinker, but I think that it's pretty close nowadays. I think that alcohol still takes it, just because people are still pretty reserved about weed, and it being pretty new to being legalized and accepted, I guess, socially, and still not terribly accepted socially. So I think that alcohol is still a prominent thing, but I think that weed will become the next generation's kind of alcohol, in terms of it being a little bit more chill, manageable, and you know it's new to being legalized. So I don't think I can really predict the future to it, but to me it's always been a part of my life, so I never saw it as this bad thing. So it's now it's part of my it's just a part of life to me. So I think that weed is prominent amongst especially my friends, but alcohol, I would still say, take the cake.
That's a really good answer, Stills. I think weed takes over in the long run too. Don't even get me wrong. It's just a chiller fucking drug. That's what it is. But I was thinking a lot about that, and why I asked is because there's not a lot of weed-friendly music things outside of festivals, and that's why I think festivals are such a powerful force, because you can just burn at a festival and not actually miss the music. whereas like a lot of other venue options cater to alcohol and maybe other things that people do which are not as smoke friendly. So I was curious to see, you know, your perceptions on that shit too. And you went to the park thing, which, let's be real, it's just fucking weed friendly. That's why people like parks, is because you can burn that shit. You can sit there for like 6 hours and burn that shit, and it's all fucking good in the hood. And that's a huge part of the Montreal. Like, you just gotta go to the Tam Tams, and you see what goes on there. It's just lots of that shit, and it's been like that since I was fucking at Abbott. Abbott's great, and Abbott's a big weed culture because there's like what, 2 bars. So really, what are you gonna do? You're gonna smoke a joint on campus.
Yeah, they got a school shop down the road.